Hey, what's up guys? Jonathan Hitchcock here with Custom Craftsman Woodworking. I am down in my basement right now. If you hear chirps in the background, that's my cockatiel kind of contributing to the video here, so you have to kind of ignore those chirps. But I wanted to show you guys, today's a big day. I've been on vacation with my family, our final family vacation before my wife goes back to teaching here in a couple weeks. And so we have one more vacation up in Michigan, and we're home now. And the epoxy pour that I did 2.5 weeks ago or so has been sitting now and is fully cured. And so today's the day that I've been waiting for, where we find out if some of the steps I took to hopefully make that the epoxy kind of comes out of the mold easily, we find out if that works, or if I'm going to be spending several hours or several days trying to demold this epoxy table here. So I'll give you a look at what it looks like here, and then we're going to haul it up into my shop and get to work. So here's the epoxy table. It's been sitting like this for 2.5 weeks. You can see I had some air bubbles that did off gas before I was able to torch them. It just got too, it was starting to get kind of gooey, and so you don't want to mess with it once it gets to that level because you can actually cause more harm by heating it up. But this has been sitting here for 2.5 weeks. I did it in my basement so that I could continue to use my shop, and so I kind of set up this whole system. These are these are Go Fish letter playing cards for my daughters that I have to get everything fully leveled here, and then I clamped it all down so that it wouldn't float on me, but we're gonna find out now. Let's get this outside and onto my workbench and see how this goes. Okay, that was a workout. We got it up the stairs and out now into the shop. I'm in my garage shop here. So it's sitting here on my workbench. And now we're gonna go through the process and see how easy it is to demold this, or if it's gonna be a longer journey than what I'm hoping for. So here we go. Okay guys, well, that wasn't too bad. That was better than I expected. This is, I didn't mention this, but this is the first epoxy table that I have poured. And so this is my first experience doing anything really on this scale with epoxy, other than filling knot holes in tables and things like that. And so I'm kind of learning as I go. So I thought you might be interested to take that journey with me here. But that came out pretty well. I went there's a lot of different routes to seal molds, and I would highly recommend, if anybody ever is thinking of making their own epoxy table, there's a class that I purchased online, a master class by a guy named Cam, who runs Blacktail Studio on YouTube. He's the king of epoxy tables on YouTube, and so I purchased his class and have gone through that and did a lot of his advice, and so that so far has helped tremendously. So it's a pretty nerve-wracking experience to have this much money invested in a project and to be just slamming away on it with a hammer, hoping that something horrible doesn't go wrong. And so far so good, but I guess if it goes horribly wrong, if I catch it on video, hopefully it'll at least be a good video. But it's pretty cool. You can see here, let me flip around so you guys can see better. So here is the top of the table. This is where I put some cauls down and clamped so that the wood wouldn't float. So you can see I actually have a healthy 1/4 inch there of epoxy that I did on the top of the whole thing. I'm trying to keep this whole table as thick as I can, so I built up the epoxy, so I have a nice sacrificial layer here that I can actually surface off now with my my router. But yeah, so this is the top of the table. I don't know if I can do this with one hand. I'll try and flip it. The underside is interesting because it didn't fill with epoxy at all, because so this is a hand carved epoxy table. It is not a live edge. And so you can actually see, if you zoom in really closely here on the bottom side, there are like glue lines there where I ended up putting multiple boards. This is a glue up of soft brown maple. So the bottom is not gonna look the same because I actually carved it all, but I focused more on the top of the table than the bottom. But it must have been surfaced pretty well because the way I had it clamped down, epoxy didn't really get underneath it. So you can kind of see somewhat of the design, but I put a lot more kind of shallow tributaries and things like that. I tried to make a real natural looking table. And so now the next step, the nice part is this is really dead flat. There is no rocking at all in this, which is great. So now I don't have to shim it at all. The next step is just to take now my router and surface the whole top of this and get down to the bare wood down under there. So let's jump into that. So I have a quick question before I get into actually surfacing here. One of the problems that I have going on here in the garage is, I'll show you here if I can turn the camera. I have just a lot of wood that is starting to pile up from different projects and things. I won't even show you what's up here in my attic. That's where I keep all my wood stored, and that's just a pile of various hardwoods and stuff. So I have a couple ideas of what to do with some of that wood, but haven't had the time obviously to do it quite yet. But there's this really cool piece. So this is the cutout from the river table, and I was impressed because, so the way this worked is I glued up, this whole project is more than just a table. It's going to be like, it's for records. And so it's going to have shelves and stuff. So these are a couple of glued up shelves that I have to surface as well. And it's all going to fit in this big case for the client's record table. And so this is just the top piece. And so I glued up some of these big 8/4 maple boards, and then I just used a Black & Decker jigsaw, which is one of my first woodworking tools that I got. I got that actually as a wedding gift from some colleagues. And so it's still going strong, but as long as it has a good blade in it. And I cut out this kind of shape here, and I think this looks really cool, but I don't know exactly what to do with it. So I thought about kind of carving it and making some sort of I don't know, art piece almost out of it and hanging it, but I don't know. It's just kind of too cool for me just to kind of cut up and throw in the fire pit pile. But if you have any ideas, of course, as I was moving stuff over, I broke off one of the pieces, so that can be glued back on, but that's the way it goes. So I need to figure out something to do with it before I break off more chunks of it. But yeah, if anybody has any cool ideas of how to use that, I'm all ears, because I'm a little stuck on what to do with it. All right, let's get to surfacing here. Okay, so here we go. This is my router sled. There are a lot of different things online of ways to surface large slabs and things like that. Because I do this, you know, I have the business, I decided to invest in something that I could kind of pack up and things. This is my first time. I opened the box when it first came, but this is my first time ever assembling and trying to use this sled. So I went with the store-bought version versus a DIY version, but this is what's going to help me hopefully be able to, once we get this set up, then we can surface down the top of that of the slab, and it's going to make a massive mess, but it should be kind of fun. So I'm going to get this set up, and then I'll bring you back for the actual surfacing process. Okay guys, well, that was a lot more work than what I anticipated. The whole reason I bought this router sled and I decided to go with a store-bought one versus a DIY version was I thought, you know, I want something really accurate, quick to set up. I'm hoping that I get more orders like this in the future, and so that's a bit of an investment for me. But I didn't go with like the super high-end like woodpecker version. This is something off of Amazon. I think it was about $300. So it's not, you know, top line at all. And the directions for setting it up were a nightmare. And then they included a couple different acrylic base plates for routers. The one that had pre-drilled out holes didn't match up with my Bosch 1617 router, which the direction or the instructions online said it fits all common routers, which the 1617 is a pretty common router, but oh well. So I had to use the one that was a DIY version and kind of center everything and try and match up holes, and that was a little of a disaster. And then there was a lot of issue with it sliding. I got it to slide now. I had to kind of shave down some of the edges, sand down some of the acrylic edges, and then I waxed them and stuff. And so, needless to say, it was a lot more work. It's been about 5.5 hours since my last video where I said I was going to get this set up. And so it's finally set up, and now it works well. So I've got my slab here. The slab is perfectly flat. There is no movement whatsoever. I got a couple just scrap pieces of wood for kind of cauls to help clamp it down so it doesn't move. I've never flattened a slab before, so this is my first time doing it. I did invest in the highest quality bit I could find. So this is a white side slab flattening 2-inch bit. So this is it's supposed to be the best one you can get. So hopefully that helps and reduces any kind of tear out and burning and anything like that. But we are finally ready to at least take off a few passes here. I don't know what I'll have time for before dinner, but I want to at least kind of use it now that I've spent all this time kind of setting it up. So let's do a little surfacing. Okay guys, well, that's our first pass. Our table wasn't perfectly level in the basement as I had tried to make it because I don't know if you can see, but this side, the bit didn't touch it, it's still shiny. And then this side probably took off about a 32nd or so of an inch. Not a whole lot, which is good. I'm just trying to make really shallow passes as I learn kind of what I'm doing here as I go. But the sled worked really well. I'm sure you might have noticed the big issue, and I have read this, that the epoxy just goes everywhere. And so that was an absolute mess. I got it all over me and floor, and it's everywhere right now. So I'm gonna have to figure out some way, because as I get closer to where I wanna be, this is where I clamped down in those cauls. This is the bare wood. So I still have a good 1/8 of an inch or so, a healthy 1/8 probably to get down to before I reach bare wood. And I'm gonna try and stop right there if I can, so that I keep this slab. I'd like to, I think it's 1.62 inches right now, and I wanna keep it about 1.5 inches by the time I finish. And so hopefully I'm excited at least that I got one pass and that everything seems to work, but I gotta figure out a little bit of a dust collection situation, because I think it gets inaccurate. The whole purpose of this is that these wheels roll on a perfectly flat surface, and especially in the back corner there, the epoxy just piles up. That's where the router kind of blows it. And so the wheels are then riding up on epoxy, which is not a good situation for trying to keep things perfectly flat. So I might have to just use like an air compressor or something and just blow off every time, just to kind of clear the chips out of the way. It's different from woodworking. It's not, wood chips. It's just like this stringy, let's see if I can get a piece, like this really light stringy stuff. And so it kind of clogs up. It got stuck a little bit in the rail system here too. And so the base plate got a little jammed a couple times. It wasn't as smooth by the end as it was at the beginning. So those are just some issues that we'll have to figure out now. And as with any kind of woodworking job, when you do something the first time, you got to learn as you go. So that's what we're doing here. So hopefully, yeah, it's quitting time now for today. So I'm gonna kind of clean up, and then I'll probably leave the router and everything just out so that I can jump right in tomorrow, and hopefully we can finish this up. So thanks for following along, guys.